We're interested in lots of areas. AI feels like a really pertinent one. We've got some AI-powered use cases that we've already put live, that we've already proven out. We've got some that are in the pipeline, and then we've got some that are in the sandbox as well. We believe that our purpose as an organization, our strategic focus is ease, choice, and understanding. Giving customers ease, choice, and understanding, and building a digital experience that wasn't usable to the widest possible cohort of customers. Didn't feel like it was consistent with that. And so we wanted to take the opportunity of replatforming to get that right from the ground up. One of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was, don't obsess about your job role and think about the type of scenario that would create a level of fulfillment. Do you want to lead a team? Do you want to work in a team? Do you want to work with other people? Do you want to work more on your own?
There's a reason why the Very Group was the only retailer to appear in Glassdoor's top list of places to work for work-life balance. Not only are they an ambitious business that are going places, but they're also absolutely committed to looking after their people and making Very the best possible place to work in technology. Technology has played a huge part in helping the Very Group transition from a catalogue retailer to the UK's largest integrated online retailer and financial service provider over the last century. And their transformation is far from over. Right now, the team is growing and they need great engineers to help provide a seamless digital customer experience. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the DevLab podcast brought to you by HackerJob. As you'll have just heard from our introduction there, we're joined by Paul Hornby, who is a Digital Customer Experience Director at the Very Group. So Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Look, I think a good place to start in any podcast is just to get to know you a little bit. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey into your current role and what attracted you to the Very Group?
Yeah, no problem. This is actually my second stint at the Very Group. So I'm lucky enough to have been here on two different occasions throughout really interesting periods of the company's history. I joined the Very Group when it was shot direct, 18 months out of university. I originally started out as a developer and then moved into management at a relatively young age, and then started to transition from more technical roles into more customer commercial roles, but always building on top of my technical background. So became head of e-commerce, then started to look at digital transformation and was really interested in those worlds, bringing art and science together. And then was lucky enough to get an opportunity to move to another organization and went to Matalan for 3 years and ran their online business there, which I loved. And then was lucky enough, I left on really good terms with Very. And whilst I was at Matalan, Very asked me to come back to lead, I suppose, the next tranche of technical transformation at Matalan. Sorry, at the Very Group. We'll change that in the post-edit, which was all focused on replatforming all of the technology that powers the sites and the apps for the Very Group. And that's what really interested me. I loved the company. I still do love the company. And the opportunity to come back to an organization that I love, that has got a phenomenal culture, has got a phenomenal group of people working here, but also tackle such an interesting multi-year program, which was focused on completely replatforming and modernizing the technology that powers the websites and apps for £2 billion pure play. Was not the type of opportunity that you get every day. So I jumped at it, and I've been back just over 3 years now, and yeah, no regrets.
Ah, fantastic. Excellent. And look, I think for anyone out there listening in, always good to hear someone return into a business. I think it really kind of speaks to the culture if someone's willing to take that step back towards somewhere where they've previously been. And what was your initial technical background? And I guess, was there a particular moment that kind of drew you into the digital customer experience side of things? Was it something that had always been there at the back of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it started in education, really.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't even do IT GCSE, didn't do IT A-level, didn't do computer science A-level. I did, relatively standard subjects, but it always had an interest in computers and computing. And, I'm showing my age to say that, it wasn't as easy to build a website when I was going through school and university as it is now. And then at the 11th hour, decided that I was really intrigued by the topic of computer science. And so ended up doing a split of maths and computer science at uni for the first year. And then ended up, even though I did far better at the maths side than the computer science side, because like I say, I came into it without even doing, IT GCSE, decided to major on computer science. And so did computer science for years 2 and 3. And then in the third year, we learned the basics of building websites using HTML and CSS. But I think more impactfully, we had a guy from industry called Peter McBurney, I still remember his name now, 20 odd years on, came in and taught us an e-commerce module.
Right.
And that was the light bulb moment for me where I could feel like, art and science come together. I loved the underlying technology aspects of e-commerce, managing servers, building websites, building an ecosystem where customers use technology to find products, to make purchases. But then I loved the art in terms of how you would market to them, how you would get a customer value proposition right, how you would make the journeys look modern, contemporary. And I loved it. So yeah, I started building websites myself. I just hustled, taught myself, built on the little bits that we learned at university, started to do freelance websites for people. And then, 18 months out of university, I got a job at what was then Shop Direct, which is now the Very Group, as an entry-level developer. And then the rest is history, really.
Fantastic. Look, it's really, it's really nice to hear the passion you clearly have for bringing those two different worlds together. And I think, probably means you almost see more of the value of your work, right? You're less detached from those end users and you're really kind of putting yourself into the shoes of the end users. So are there any particular projects or initiatives that really stand out in your mind? And when you're thinking about projects, how do you typically measure their impact?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we are working on at this moment in time is the program I mentioned earlier on, which is the replatforming of all of our technology, which is the reason I came back to the Very Group early. So we, for the past few years, have been building a completely new platform, which we refer to internally as Skyscape. So our head office in the Northwest is Skyways, our fulfillment center in the Midlands is Skygate, and we call our new ecom platform Skyscape. So yeah, that is, consume my focus, consume the focus of my team. It's something we're making really good progress on. It's what's known as a composable platform, which we'll probably talk about at some point throughout the remainder of this podcast.
Yep.
So, it's utilizing modern technology, it's using some modern architectural principles, but, most importantly, it's building an experience that's better for customers, but also an experience that's better for our colleagues. To the point that you mentioned earlier, how do we measure that? That's something that is super important to us, because you can have all the great ideas in the world, but you need to focus on the things that will truly make a difference for your customers and your colleagues, but be able to measure that. And so, we've historically been very, very mature when it comes to how we approach A/B testing and experimentation. And, the concept of being able to show one audience one thing and another audience another, and then evaluate the difference until you reach a level of statistical significance and can say, we are pretty damn certain that change has resulted in that metric moving in one way or another. Yeah. It's slightly more difficult to be as methodical when you're migrating from one platform to another. But what we've done with our platform migration is done it in very thin slices. So we can isolate one part of the journey, migrate that, track the impact, fix forward if we identify any problems, and there will always be wrinkles in the bed sheets when you're tackling something of this size. And then once we're happy it's right, move on. So yeah, the transparent and consistent measurement of what we do and how our customers are finding it is core to our purpose as a team.
Fantastic, excellent. And look, I've had numerous conversations as we were chatting, briefly before the podcast with over the various different years on different podcast episodes. And I think one, continuous trend is really that putting the user at the center of things. And again, to hear how much effort you put into running those A/B tests, to compartmentalizing, to making sure that you can measure and track that impact, so that you can make sure that you're delivering that value. I think this really speaks to the values that Very have overall as an organization.
Yeah.
And what sort of trends do you see in digital customer experience at the moment? And are there any particular trends that the Very Group themselves are trying to adapt to or leverage at the moment?
Yeah, we're interested in lots of areas. AI feels like a really pertinent one. We've got some AI-powered use cases that we've already put live, that we've already proven out. We've got some that are in the pipeline, and then we've got some that are in the sandbox as well. Yep. There's probably a few I'd call out. As part of this Skyscape migration, we've partnered with a new AI-powered product discovery platform called Constructor. So what we mean by product discovery is basically the technology that helps customers find the right product at the right time. So on-site search on a website, the product recommendations that you see on a website, but also the browse experience. So, if you were going on holiday and you wanted to search for, or not search, browse to like men's shirts, that's the browse experience. We previously would power our search, browse, and recommendations via different technology partners. So they could be quite disparate and they were not utilizing modern tech. Partnering with Constructor is allowing us to make that product discovery experience far more personalized, far more relevant, and just help us put the right product in front of the right customer at the right time. We've already migrated all of our on-site search to Constructor. We've already created a new type ahead search experience, which uses AI. All of our product recommendations are now powered by Constructor, and our browse experience will be live before we get to the peak trading period at the end of 2024. So back to the measurement part, we can see that we've looked at this both qualitatively and quantitatively. So from a qualitative standpoint, we can see that customers are getting more accurate products returns. We've used loads of examples. One that we've used quite a few times is when customers search for girls Converse. Previously, they'd see girls Converse clothes, but we know that the true search intent is girls Converse All-Star trainers.
Yeah.
The AI works out that's the intent and serves the right products. So we're seeing that yield, from a qualitative standpoint, better returns, and then quantitatively, we're seeing that that's increasing search conversion. So that's been a really good example of an AI use case for us. I think separately, and maybe if that's a really customer-facing example of AI, which is changing how we power our journey and what our customer sees, there are also several examples underneath the hood that customers wouldn't see. One example, we already use AI to help us forecast sales demand each week, and we'll frequently forecast the rate of sale for hundreds of thousands of SKUs each week. And that may sound quite boring or quite anodyne, really, but the most important thing we can do for a customer is make sure we've got the product that they want in stock.
Yeah.
We're using AI to help us more accurately forecast our rate of sale. Makes it far easier for us to forward manage our stock volumes and minimize the likelihood of us disappointing customers. So yeah, we've got loads of AI in there. We're really interested in generative AI as well. We've got quite a few interesting bits in the sandbox there. And we see AI very much as a tool to help us delight our customers, but also to help make the job of our colleagues easier.
Fantastic. Excellent. Look, I think it's great to hear that you're on the same journey a lot of customers are on at the moment, A lot of companies are on at the moment, where, again, you're trying to leverage AI to improve that customer experience, but you're also going through a big transformation as well. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in the podcast anyway. So what are the key drivers been behind the decision to retransform the Very Group's platform, and what sort of challenges were you facing with the old technology?
Well, as a pure play retailer, we've obviously got big ambitions, and we want a technology platform that can match those ambitions. The technology that is powering our websites and apps now, we've had in one way or another for the past 15 years, and it's done us proud. It's fueled Very's growth, and it's played a phenomenal role in that chapter of our story. I think that said, it's a big monolithic platform. And what we mean by a monolithic platform is it's one big box. All of that capability sits within one box. And so over the time, it's become more challenging for us to manage that, keep it up to date, introduce new features, new capability. And so we felt that the time was right for us to invest in that platform and create a platform that would allow us to step change the experience that our customers get, step change the capability that our colleagues have got access to, but also provide the foundation for future growth. So all those things together, a few years ago, we decided that the time was right to embark upon that journey. And like I say, we're making good progress. We were always adamant that it would not be a big bang. We didn't want to build it in the shadows for years and then drop something in one go. We are very much fans of thin slices, unlocking value early, fast feedback loops. But we're now in a position where over 50% of Very's traffic is on the new Skyscape platform. Our expectation is that we'll be finished for all three brands. So very.co.uk, very.ie, and littlewoods.com in the first half of calendar year 2025.
Fantastic. Excellent. Anyone out there listening in, watch this space. Keep your eye out. Early 2025 sounds like there's going to be some fantastic additions, updates to the user experience. Excellent. And look, the next thing I wanted to touch on was something, again, that I think you mentioned in the kind of brief before the podcast, which was around accessibility, specifically for users with vision impairments. Again, on the topic of the new platform, how does the new platform address some of these risks that you'd identified? From
the very start of building Skyscape, there was a number of non-negotiables that we wanted to take this opportunity to get right. The old platform was built on what's known as an adaptive code base. So we had one code base for desktop, one code base for mobile, which was inefficient for our people. We didn't use a design system, and so the look and feel of the journey could be inconsistent. And what do I practically mean by that? You could probably find 30 to 40 different types of green button across the journey, which it's just not consistent, and it makes upkeep more challenging. One of the most interesting things that we found after really evaluating our experience was that it wasn't accessible. And we believe that our purpose as an organization, our strategic focus is ease, choice, and understanding. Giving customers ease, choice, and understanding, and building a digital experience that wasn't usable to the widest possible cohort of customers didn't feel like it was consistent with that. And so we wanted to take the opportunity of replatforming to get that right from the ground up. So the Skyscape platform is responsive, built on top of a new design system, which we call Fuse, but also that design system is AA accessible, and everything that we've built is AA accessible. So it's been a core tenet really of the whole process from design, from our engineering teams, is to utilize Fuse and create a journey that looks far more modern, far more contemporary, something that we can be proud of, far easier for our people to manage, far easier for our customers to use, but also has accessibility at its core. Yep. And back to the conversation before around how do we prove that out, we also challenged ourselves on that and said, telling ourselves that it's accessible is one thing, we need to prove it out. And so we signed a deal with a partner who we've worked with for a while now called Fable. Okay. Who Fable basically give us access to a user group who will have a mixture of temporary or permanent visual or motor impairments. And we work with Fable, who will run different types of qualitative tests and research on our sites to help us understand how the accessibility of the journey is improving. But our aim is very much by the time the Skyscape migration is finished, that we will have end-to-end digital journey that is in line with AA accessible standards. Fantastic. Excellent. And again, just great to hear how conscious you are of these things and that, really clear conscious effort to ensure that, the platform is as accessible as it possibly can be. There's one term that I wanted you to kind of perhaps explain for some of our users. Again, when we were chatting off air, you mentioned the term modern composure platform. Could you just give a quick explanation of what this means and how it differentiates the Very Group from other companies in the industry? It's a modern architectural trend. If we go back to the monolith conversation that we've just recently had, historically, organizations would choose monolithic platforms, which in essence is a one-stop shop. You would buy one big box and everything that you may need, your content management, your on-site search, your browse, your basket, your checkout, your promotions, all of that lives within that box. And that was the way of the world for many years. Yeah. Over recent years, there has been an evolution of that from a monolithic architectural approach to a composable architectural approach. And, it sounds quite clever and grandiose, but when you boil it down, all it means is rather than having that one big box, you have several smaller boxes. Now, the benefit for us is we've always found that when you choose a monolith, so you choose one big box, not everything within that box meets the standards that you have or the requirements that you have. And so you end up conceding somewhere. You'll choose a monolith and it may be brilliant in 50% of areas. It may be in the middle of the road in 25% and off the pace in 25%. And you step back and find yourself, in essence, conceding in 50%, which means your customers feel that and your colleagues feel that. With Composable, it's allowed us to step back and think about what do we want this platform to be for customers and colleagues. We're building a completely separated customer experience layer, which we're building ourselves and hosting on AWS, which means that can be completely unique to us. And then we are partnered with best of breed composable partners like SaaS platforms in the content management space, the commerce space, the product discovery space, like we've mentioned earlier with Constructor, and then also around identity and access management. And that's allowed us to go and review each of these areas and say, what's right for our business? What are our requirements? What's our customer telling us they need? And let's go and find partners that match our needs rather than having to retrofit our needs to an existing partner. So at the most simple level, I think of composable as multiple Lego blocks rather than one big Lego block.
Yeah. So you're utilizing different microservices essentially so that you're not compromising quite so much on, as you say, different elements of the platform.
Yeah, I mean, the architectural model here has been, like I mentioned earlier, we've built a completely separate presentation layer, which we've built and managed. Yep. Then beneath that, we've built a raft of domain services, which facade ourselves away from a number of SaaS partners. And then, so we will talk to the partners via that domain service layer. It's all in line with Mac principles. It's all microservice-based, API first, cloud hosted, headless. So it gives us the complete control of the digital journey, the flexibility of a composable model, and has also allowed us to choose the partners that we think align with our strategic vision the most.
Excellent. And again, I'm sure, anyone listening in that is considering the next role, the fact that you'd be working with modern architectures and working with a flexible system that allows you to deliver in the right value to the right users at the right time is certainly something that I'm sure is going to pique a lot of interest. Look, we all know staying current is super important, particularly in a field as dynamic as retail. Could you share some insights into the process of transitioning from the old technology to the new platform? What were some of the biggest hurdles that you yourself and the team overcome on that journey?
Yeah, getting the team structure right was a challenge at first. We had a team structure that in some ways was best suited to supporting our old platform and supporting the delivery of initiatives on that platform. Whereas one of the main guiding principles I was asked to follow when I came back was that this could not be a migration for tech's sake. Yep. We had to focus on the fact that we were making this investment to manage future risk, but also to create commercially solid colleague and customer outcomes. But also part of that was we couldn't just pull the shutters down on the existing platform and say, see you all in a few years. We're not going to be able to continue to improve our proposition or experience because retail is too fast-paced and competitive for that.
Yeah.
So one of the first problems that we faced into was how we evolve our operating model and org structure to be able to continue to manage and optimize and improve the existing platform whilst building the new Skyscape platform.
Yep.
We got over that. We got through that, like I say, by evolving our op model and structure within the team, and that has ended up working really, really well. And then we've also needed to manage the risk of physically migrating from one platform to another, which I know we touched on briefly.
Yep.
And the approach that we've taken there was very thin slices. We looked at which parts of the journey we wanted to start with first. We started more with the upper funnel. And anyone who's been on very.co.uk over the past 12 months, I can pretty much guarantee that your journey will have taken you between the Skyscape platform, which is the new platform, and our legacy platform, hopefully without you realizing.
Yeah.
If you look at search, for example, when we started migrating search to the new AI-powered platform with Constructor, we started to route 1% to search traffic, then 5%, then 10, 20, 50, constantly evaluating both the commercial performance and also the underlying operational performance. So yeah, we've tried to take an iterative approach, which has allowed us to find issues, solve issues, solidify the foundations and go from there. So yeah, I'd say they've been the biggest challenges, but like I mentioned earlier, we've come through them. We still find new challenges, but we sit here today with over 50% of very significant volume on Skyscape. So I can't say anything other than I'm delighted with that progress to date.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to do it, as you say, with that seamless experience for users switching between the two. And again, I know from the conversation we've had, that had been something at the forefront of your mind. So I'm sure you've had different tests, different measures in place to make sure that experience did feel seamless. So yeah, must be, credit to you and the team for for the progress so far. Excellent. And look, switching gears a little bit, what advice would you give to anyone interested in joining the team at Very? And you can broaden that, so anyone perhaps starting their career in technology, but if there's any specific advice you would give to someone interested in joining Very, I'm sure a lot of the people listening in would be more than happy to listen in.
Think about the type of environment that you think will get the best out of you. Think about what, so simple, but think about what you'd want to do of a day that will give you personal and professional satisfaction. One of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was, don't obsess about your job role and think about the type of scenario that would create a level of fulfillment. Do you want to lead a team? Do you want to work in a team? Do you want to work with other people? Do you want to, work more on your own? Do you want to work on what types of initiatives do you want to work on? If you're an engineer, what type of languages do you want to work with and why? And try and think about the things that would make you happy, and then think about what you can do on your own time to maximize the likelihood of being able to get into those scenarios. I think for anyone wanting to join our team, we've got a great team of really highly motivated and talented people across a number of areas. My team covers product management. We've got delivery managers, BAs, engineers. That's everything from software engineers for web and app, QA engineers, platform engineers, UX research and design. But they are all friendly, determined, motivated people. We have a hybrid working policy, so we don't have everybody in all the time, which means it's really important when we do bring people together to foster that real collegiate nature. But I think any advice for anyone wanting to join our team would be, think about the role that you want to play, think about the value that you want to add, think about the tools, platforms, services that you would want to utilize, and think about how you can brush up, maximize your capability, but also just focus on your values, because we're a values-led organization. And the most important thing for us is, having people who align to our values and can work as part of our team to help us deliver the right outcome for our customer.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think great advice, in general there, actually spending that time to, really evaluate your priorities, starting, bringing Simon Sinek into it, starting with the why and really understanding what it is that's going to make you tick, because ultimately you're the person that lives that experience. You're the person that is going to be doing that on the day-to-day. And it's so important to have that passion for your day-to-day activities, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent. So look, final question, and then we'll open up the floor. If there's anything at all we haven't covered, if there's anything else you wanted to share with our listeners out there, you're more than welcome to. But just to finish off, how do you see the retransformation of your platform influencing the Very Group's growth and customer engagement in the next few years? What's the end result that you're looking for, I suppose?
We think transforming our tech is vital for the future of the business. But for that to be a success, we have to also be customer-centric in everything we do. Technology gets us so far, but our culture, our values, our behaviors is what will make a real difference on top of that. We touched it earlier, but very simply, we believe our strategic focus is to give customers ease, choice and understanding when they shop with us, and that will increase engagement with our customers and really signal success. So that's a focus for us, to really go under that a little bit more. What do we mean by ease? For us, when the journey's easy, when content is relevant, when we create an end-to-end experience that makes it easier for customers to do the jobs that they have to be done, helping them find brands quickly and easily, helping them come and manage their accounts. That's our focus. From a choice perspective, we want to offer customers a breadth of options across the products that we offer and the flexible ways that they have to pay. And then from an understanding standpoint, we just want to utilize the wide range of data that we have available so that we can understand our customers even better. We can tailor experiences so it's more personalized to them, which that we've touched on. That's where we really see the transformation taking us. This is the foundation.
Yep.
And then we can use that to double down on ease, choice and understanding and create a digital experience and an overall customer experience that's great for the customers of today, but also for the customers of tomorrow.
Fantastic. Very well said. Very well put. As I mentioned, that was our final question that we had kind of logged on for today's podcast. But is there anything we haven't had the chance to cover? Anything at all else you wanted to share with any of our listeners out there?
I think that's definitely covered the main parts.
Yep.
Yeah, it's encapsulated, who we are and where we are. I suppose the one part that we haven't spoken about as much is app.
Yep.
Even though we are focusing very much on building this new composable web-based platform, part of the reason why we're doing that is it also will power our app. As we start, our app is channel of choice for our existing customer. roughly 50% of our sales come through app now. So it's a huge channel for us. And one of the reasons why we've invested in this composable platform is those domain services I mentioned earlier also create a lot of strategic flexibility for the app as well. So yeah, we're definitely a business that's doubling down on all of those channels and see this underlying tech investment as the platform for growth across wherever our customer wants to interact with us. So yeah, that's us. And the thing that makes all of these initiatives work are the great people we have in our team, which is one of the most important reasons that we work with people like HackerJob to keep that being the case.
Excellent. And yeah, for anyone out there listening, perhaps more interested in the mobile side of things, app focused, then yeah, definitely, based on what Paul's just run us through there, definitely worth you getting in touch and starting a conversation as well. So Paul, thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. Really, really informative session. Loads of great insight there into the Very Group. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And look, thank you to everyone out there for listening in. As ever, we'll include all of the relevant links in the podcast description. If you're interested in joining the Very Group, and why wouldn't you be, an organization that really puts the user at the center of everything they do, leveraging new technologies, whether that be microservices within the kind of replatforming or AI and cloud technologies. If you are in the market for a new role, then definitely click the link and start a conversation and see where it leads. So thank you to everyone for listening in. And once again, thank you, Paul, for joining us today.